Houston, Apollo 14, we have lost 1/10 of 1 pound per square inch in the Delta V gauge. During the 3-minute period, we'd like to proceed as we are.
Roger, Al, stand by. And you're clear to go with that.
Roger, proceeding.
Apollo 14, Houston, would like you to verify the H2 fans off.
Let's verify.
Roger.
I'll belay that, Houston. They're off now.
Roger, Ed.
This is Apollo Control, Houston. We're at 5 hours 13 minutes now into the flight of Apollo 14. The present distance reading for Apollo 14 is 22,503 nautical miles away from Earth. And following that successful hard docking, Apollo 14 is proceeding on with our basic mission plan. The crew, of course, will have a chance to look at the docking mechanism during the translunar coast period while Antares and Kitty Hawk are docked. We're at 5 hours 14 minutes into the flight, and this is Apollo Control, Houston.
Apollo 14, Houston.
Go ahead.
Have some RCS quantity numbers, just should make you feel good. You used 131 pounds so far, which is 62 pounds below nominal, but you're still 211 pounds above the red line. Over.
It's Apollo Control, Houston. You heard those.
We used 131 pounds, 62 pounds below nominal. And say again, how much above red line?
You're still 211 pounds above the red line.
At Houston, we got all the docking budgets.
Roger, understand you got them all. Very good.
I'll check it carefully now, but that's his first report.
Roger.
Those were reaction control system usage rates passed along to the crew by Capcom Gordon Fullerton. Responding from the spacecraft was Ed Mitchell. We're at 5 hours 19 minutes now into the flight. We presently show 14 at a distance of 23,125 nautical miles away from the Earth, traveling now at a speed of 12,486 feet per second.
Okay, Houston, we got all the latches, and everything was fine. All we had to do was just tap on number 2 and 8 to lock the handle down.
Roger, Stu. If you haven't bled the nitrogen with the red button, don't for a minute here.
Oh, you caught us in time. We have not bled it.
Okay, stand by and we'll make sure that what ECOM wants to do here. Houston. Okay, after a massive discussion here, we've decided to have you go ahead with the procedures as you see them in your checklist there. Verify the extend latch engaged indicator, not visible, and then go ahead and bleed the GN2.
Okay.
Apollo 14, Houston.
Oh, yeah, Houston.
Roger, in 5 to 10 minutes, the S-IVB fuel pressure should get up to the point where it'll vent. It's through a non-propulsive vent. Shouldn't affect you much. Over.
Okay, 5 to 10 minutes, thank you. And we're just about to put the hatch back in.
Roger.
Houston 14.
Go ahead, 14.
Okay, Gordon, is there, just want to make sure that we're all talking on the same frequency on this ejection and the maneuver and anything. Have we got any changes to any of those procedures?
Stand by.
I guess what I'm wondering is, after this long a time, is the S-IVB still in the same condition and so forth and so on?
Okay, Stu, stand by. I'll get a good summary of that.
Okay.
Gordon, be advised, we're on page L37 and ready for prelim step and ejection.
Roger, Ed. Uh, 14, Houston.
Go ahead.
Roger, essentially, like you go through procedures and as you would have nominally, the only anomaly with the booster is right now is that we have lost the downlink from the launch vehicle digital computer, and so your visual indications of its attitude and maneuvers are the only ones that we'll have. We have no readout on booster attitude down here, and actually we've lost many of the downlink parameters on the booster. However, it shouldn't affect the evasive maneuver and targeting to impact. Over.
Okay, Gordon, that's what I was wanted to clarify before we pressed ahead. So we'll press right on down and as nominal and give you the call when we see it and so forth.
Roger.
This is Apollo Control at 5 hours 44 minutes. At the present time in Mission Control, we are preparing for a shift handover. Flight Director Milton Wendler is coming on to relieve Flight Director Pete Frank. That handover will occur following LEM extraction. A short while ago, Flight Director was asked when LEM extraction would occur. His response was whenever the crew is ready. The crew is proceeding to extract the LEM in the normal manner at this time, and following LEM extraction there will be a change of shift briefing in the large auditorium in Building 1 at the Manned Spacecraft Center News Center. A short while ago also, Gene Cernan, who was on the Capcom console, made the remark following the successful docking that in paraphrasing was something as follows. Cernan remarked that I guess that practice we had this morning in the crew quarters paid off. He was referring to a mass which was said for him and for Stu Rusa in the crew quarters at Cape Kennedy this morning. Recapping the docking situation, the docking was tried a total of 6 times before the successful hard docking occurred at 4 hours, 56 minutes, 46 seconds. On the 6th attempt, the procedure was for the 14 crew to maneuver up to the command up to the lunar module, using the probe to align the vehicles properly, to bring the docking mechanism in proximity with the docking ring on the lunar module, and at that time to attempt to retract the probe mechanism, hoping that the docking latches would then come together, would be properly aligned, and that hard docking could occur. This, in fact, is what appeared to happen, although it is not certain at this time whether or not the docking probe did, in fact, engage and latch as it normally would, or whether the docking mechanism came together with the docking latches engaging merely by virtue of the fact that the probe mechanism was retracted in the normal docking. The probe, which is
would like to go for firearm, please.
Do you have a go for firearm?
Okay. I guess that was a go.
6 firearm, 2
No go.
The go for pyro arm indicates the crew is preparing for LEM separation.
servo power number 1, AC-1 down.
We'll continue to attempt to recap, returning to live conversation in the event the crew or the Capcom speaks up. The normal docking procedure would be for the probe mechanism to engage the drogue in the lunar module. There are 3 small latches in the tip of the probe which extend after passing through a hole in the end of the conical drogue mechanism. This is soft docking. At this time, a pneumatic system actuated by a nitrogen pressurization draws the 2 vehicles together, pulling retracting the drogue, or rather retracting the probe, pulling the docking mechanism together and hard docking.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. Take a look at the 83s. Copy down. -.700.
We have a report now that the crew is thrusting -X, which would indicate that they are extracting the lunar module from the S-4B at this time.
Okay. Cryo press.
Okay, cryo press.
It's O2 tank there, close.
No, I think that's
No, that's
tank.
third stack.
Okay, there it is, tank 3. With the heaters off. Houston, the cryo press light is the
outside.
O2 tank 3.
Roger, we estimate that's probably stratification.
Oh, Roger. Sorry, it's also tank 1 and 2 just dropped down.
Roger, we saw that.
Really sparkles. Okay, let's keep us on this there.
Okay, go to Pooh.
We're at Pooh.
Computer activity light out, do a verb 66.
Verb 66.
Sex power on 2 safe.
Okay, that's safe. Let's get our maneuver going.
Now let's get on through the checklist. Sex logic 2 off.
Yeah, I'm just going to be ready.
Circuit breaker sex arm 2 open.
Okay, I've got the arms off, the logic's off, and arm circuit breakers open.
Okay, I'm pulling S-4B left SEP open.
Ready. Okay, CMC auto, rate 2, and rate command.
And I'm going to verify it. We got 002.
How about our RCS?
Our telemetry data indicates that the LEM is clear, that the crew is maneuvering now to the attitude for the evasive maneuver.
Launch vehicle SBS indicator switch at GPI.
Okay.
TVC servo power 2 off.
Okay.
EMS mode standby.
Okay.
EMS function off.
Okay.
Tape recorder off.
Apollo 14, Houston, we'll be standing by from you for that you have the S-4B visually and a go for the maneuver.
Okay, Gordon, it's just now coming out from behind the limb for me in the left window here. About another 15, 20 seconds, we ought to have a good view of it.
Roger.
And, okay, we're well clear, Gordon, if you want to go ahead and do the yaw maneuver at your convenience.
Roger, Stu.
This is Apollo Control at 5 hours 55 minutes. The crew now maneuvering into the proper position for the APS evasive maneuver. In some of the conversation you heard reference to the fact that data from the S-IVB is limited, and this lack of data has complicated the...
Sent a checkout command to the booster, which looked good, so we're getting ready to start the yaw maneuver now.
Hey, why don't you give me a mark when it's coming?
All right, will do. Houston will be commanding at 55 plus 30, about 5 seconds from now. Ready, mark.
Okay, and she's moving, Gordon.
Roger, Stu.
The S-IVB moving into the proper position for the APS evasive maneuver. Our communications officer reported a dropout in data. They're checking to determine the cause of it. The concern mentioned previously about the controlling the S-IVB for the APS evasive maneuver referred to the fact that a multiplexer apparently has failed in the S-IVB instrument unit. The primary concern here is that in performing the maneuver, there are certain systems that flight controllers don't have as good a visibility into as they would prefer. However, the fact that the S-IVB responded to the yaw maneuver command properly indicates that the systems are responding as they should, and the APS evasive maneuver using the auxiliary propulsion system on the S-IVB will be performed as scheduled. This will be a 10 foot per second maneuver, giving the separation distance between the S-IVB and the lunar module, and will be supplemented by a propulsive LOX dump maneuver. The LOX dump maneuver is designed to reduce the probability of spacecraft recontact.
Away from looking at us, and it's a beautiful sight.
Roger, Stu. It sounds good to us. We had some question about our command capability, and it sounds like it's okay.
Oh yeah, she's going away from us.
Following the auxiliary propulsion system maneuver and the propulsive venting of the liquid oxygen aboard the S-IVB, there will be targeted a burn determined or targeted to impact the S-IVB on the lunar surface at approximately 33 degrees west and 20 degrees south, which is near the Apollo 12 landing site. And it is expected that this maneuver will be carried out as planned. You heard Stu Rusa in that last exchange report that the S-IVB was responding properly to commands and appeared to be coming around in the proper attitude.
Houston, would you give us Omni Delta?
Okay, you have it, Houston.
Thank you. Apollo 14 Houston.
Go ahead.
With a go from you up there, we'll plan to initiate the APS evasive burn at 6 plus 04 even. Over.
Okay, yeah, it's well foresighted away from us, and we'll be standing by.
Roger.
This is Apollo Control at 6 hours, 2 minutes, 18 seconds. A little less than 2 minutes away now from the scheduled auxiliary propulsion system evasive maneuver on the S-IVB. Capcom Gordon Fullerton advised the Apollo 14 crew that that maneuver would occur at 6 hours, 4 minutes, with the liquid oxygen dump scheduled to occur at 6 hours, 25 minutes, 20 seconds.
Apollo 14 Houston, the evasive maneuver should be going now. How does it look?
Right, we see the booster moving.
Roger. Now, the last thing you can do for us on this, because of our lack of determining the booster attitude, is as it fades out of view, if you can determine if it's still looking stable. Over.
Okay, we can sure handle that, and you got some venting there, too, as you started that maneuver.
Roger, that's normal. That was expected.
Okay.
Apollo 14 Houston, would you go to manual and wide on the high gain, but stay in Omni Delta?
This is Apollo Control at 6 hours, 9 minutes. We've completed our shift handover now in Mission Control. Flight Director Milton Wendler and his team of maroon flight directors, flight controllers. The Flight Dynamics Officer has just advised the Flight Director that he does not anticipate a mid-course correction being required at the opportunity for mid-course correction 1. This would mean that the mid-course would not be made until the mid-course correction 2 opportunity. At the present time, Apollo 14 is traveling at a speed of 11,237 feet per second. The spacecraft altitude is 28,593 nautical miles. There will be a change of shift briefing in about 30 minutes. The briefing will be held in the large auditorium in the MSC News Center, Building 1.
Go ahead, 14.
Okay, Gordon, I'm sure y'all have been talking about it. You want me to press ahead with the maneuver to the P-52 attitude and go into that?
Roger, Stu, that's affirmative. We'd like to go through with the normal procedures as shown in the flight plan down to that P-52 at 5 hours and 40 minutes. But at that point, we're going to deviate slightly in order to save some RCS. We do not want you to do the fuel cell purge or the wastewater dump. We're planning to have you, and we do not want you to do the go into PTC. At that point, we're planning to do the P-23, which will be a little early, and we'll have a new attitude for that. And then we'll go into PTC. Right now, it looks like mid-course 1 is not likely to be necessary, so that we'll save one PTC spin-up that way and save some RCS. Over.
Okay, now at 5:50 you say do not do the fuel cell purge or wastewater dump.
That's affirmative, Stu.
Okay, we won't go.
14 Houston.
Go ahead.
Roger, as soon as you get to your attitude there, we'll be ready to uplink the new ResMat to you.
Okay.
Houston 14, do you want me to start a battery B charge?
Stand by, Ed. Ed, that's affirmative. Go ahead with the battery B charge.
Okay.
Houston 14.
Go ahead.
Hey, Gordon, I can got a beautiful view of the S-4B now out of the left-hand window, and she's stable as a rock.
Roger, Stu.
Houston, I've initiated battery B charge.
Roger, Ed. Would you give us Omni Charlie, Ed?
You have it?
Roger, and at about 6:25:20, the LOX dump should start on the S-4B. You might keep an eye on it at that time. I'll give you a warning about 10 seconds prior.
Okay.
Capcom Gordon Fullerton was advising the crew that the dump of the liquid oxygen remaining in the S-4B will occur at 6 hours, 25 minutes, 20 seconds ground elapsed time. This is the propulsive venting of the liquid oxygen, which is aimed to increase the separation distance between the lunar module and the booster third stage, and also is targeted to impact the S-4B on the lunar surface near the Apollo 12 seismometer. We're now at 6 hours, 25 minutes, some 20 seconds away from the liquid oxygen dump.
14 Houston, that LOX dump should start in about 10 seconds.
Booster reports the dump is initiated.
Apollo 14 Houston, the LOX dump should be complete now. Did you see anything of it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful sight, Houston. The sun was shining from the side. It was streaming out. We tried to get a couple of Hasselblad shots of it from the corner of the window. It's really fantastic.
Roger, Al.
That was Apollo 14 Commander Al Shepard reporting a very spectacular sight with good sunlight on the liquid oxygen, particles streaming out of the nozzle of the S-4B. The LOX dump is scheduled to be followed by an additional...
Step 2 and accept.
Roger, and we'd like you to try to bring up the high gain now. Use a pitch of +28 and a yaw of +317. Over.
Roger, 28317.
Once the high gain antenna is brought into play, we should see a marked increase in signal strength. The LOX dump from the S-4B will be followed by an additional maneuver to target the S-4B to the proper impact point. That maneuver performed with the auxiliary propulsion system.
Ed, this is Houston. We're having a little problem with our readout of high gain antenna angles here. Would you read out your onboard pitch and yaw angle?
All right, you have a pitch of +29 and yaw of about 320, 330.
Say again the yaw.
About 330.
330, Roger.
I don't know you having any trouble at all with this late distance.
I don't know either, Ralph.
How you doing, Sid?
Yeah, so far so good.
Really very comfortable.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little surprised that the fighting stayed down. Yeah, 13.
Well, I think a lot of this is due to these hoses we got on to it. If we get rid of them, it'll be a little different.
There are a jillion stars out there.
I think you've got a whole bunch of little things to look at.
Managing the S-IVB.
The section ought to probably help you with nothing else will.
Okay, I think I'm going to start clearing my pockets out. Preparation to get the suit off.
Good show.
Houston, we have the rest mat and trunnion bias 0 in there. It's your computer.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control at 6 hours 33 minutes. We'll be coming up soon on a change of shift press briefing. At that time, we will take down the live air-to-ground circuits and record any conversations with the spacecraft for playback following the change of shift briefing. One bit of information from the flight surgeon. The flight surgeon reports that Commander Shepard's biomedical data, primarily heart rate, resumed spontaneously at 1 hour 30 minutes ground elapsed time. At that time, the Capcom asked if he did anything to fix the sensor, and Shepard replied, nope. The readings on all 3 crewmen during the docking attempts are approximately as follows. During most of the unsuccessful attempts, Stu Rusa, who was piloting the command module at that time, had a heart rate of about 120 beats per minute. The other 2 crewmen, Shepard and Mitchell, were averaging around 70 beats per minute. And during the final successful docking attempt, Rusa's heart rate went from 120 to 144. At the present time, the Apollo 14 crew is performing a program 52. This is a platform alignment. The spacecraft traveling at a velocity of 10,739 feet per second, and now at a distance of 31,236 nautical miles from Earth.
Houston 14. Houston, Apollo 14.
Apollo 14, Houston, go ahead.
Right, did you get our down 93s?
That's affirmative. We copied them.
Okay.
Ed, would you give us the torquing time?
Right, 6, 40, 35.
64035.
This is Apollo Control at 6 hours 45 minutes. At the present time, Apollo 14 is traveling at a speed of 10,555 feet per second and at a distance of 32,283 nautical miles from Earth. Change of shift briefing is ready to begin now in the MSC News Center. We'll record any conversations with the spacecraft during this period of time and play them back following the press briefing. Also, there will be questions from Cape Kennedy following the briefing during the course of the question and answer period. At 6 hours 46 minutes, this is Apollo Control. This is Apollo Control at 7 hours 25 minutes. During the change of shift briefing, we advised the crew that it is being considered to have them remove the probe and drogue assembly from the docking tunnel, pull it down into the command module, and activate the television so that we on the ground and the crew can get a good look at that particular piece of equipment. A decision to do so will not be made in all probability for another 30 to 40 minutes. At that time, it will then require something like an additional 2 hours to get the necessary lines up between the receiving station at Goldstone and Houston, so that the television transmission can be routed here to the control center. We'll play back the taped conversations which we accumulated during the change of ship briefing, and then continue to follow any other conversations live.
Apollo 14, Houston, over.
Go ahead.
Okay, if you haven't already, we'd like you to continue on through the rest of the procedures in the flight plan after the P-52 down to 6 hours, except don't do the O2 fill cell purge or the wastewater dump.
Okay, well, that's what we were planning to do.
And then, Ed, I'd have a longer update. I want you to do a P-23, the one that's scheduled for about 9:50 in the flight plan. Correction, 9:30. And if you'd turn to that, I'll give you some new stars and other information to go there.
Stand by. All right, Houston, I have the flight plan open to 0930.
Roger. Stand by one. Okay, Ed. On the P-23, the optics cal attitude is the same as listed there. I'd like you to change the P-23 sighting attitude to roll 184, pitch 2...
Hold it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready. Go again.
Okay, it's listed there at 42. Roll 184, pitch 283, and yaw 310.
Okay, the sighting attitude is 184, 283, 310.
That's right. And we have a change in the order of doing the stars, plus a couple substitutions. I'd like you to use the listed star number 3, that's Gamma Centauri number 53. I want you to do that star first.
Hold it a minute. Okay, 53 Gamma Centauri is first.
Roger, and then star as listed number 2, number 236 will be the second star.
Roger, Delta Ophiuchi.
Okay, and then the third star is a different one, a new one. It will be star 161, Iota Centauri. And Earth Far Horizon.
Okay, star 3 is 161, Iota Centauri, EFH.
Roger. The noun 70 for that star is the same as the noun 70 on star number 1. It'll probably be easier just to write it down. That'll be 00 all balls on the first register, all balls on the second register, and 00120 on the third register.
Understand.
And noun 88 is completely different. First register minus 75603. Second register minus 27129er. And third register minus 59566. Over.
Okay. For Iota Centauri, noun 70 is all zeros, 00120. Noun 88 minus 75603 minus 27129 minus 59566.
Roger, Ed. Read back correct. Okay, the fourth star will be star number 24, Gina, Earth Far Horizon, and noun 70 will be first register 00024, Second register all balls. Third register 00120. And you don't need a noun 88 for that one. Over.
Okay. The fourth star is 24, Gina. EFH, noun 70 is 00024, all zeros, and 00120.
All right, that readback's good. After you finish that P23, we'd like you to do the O2 fuel cell purge and the wastewater dump. And then the activity to follow is still under discussion here. We're talking over possibly removing the Drogue and taking a look at it at that time, and possibly cranking up the TV to give us a picture of it back here. So the decision to start PTC after finishing the P23 will depend on whether we're going to request you to give us a TV shot of the Drogue and probe. Over.
Okay, understand. And the following this P23, you want us to press on with the O2 fuel cell purge and wastewater dump that's listed at about 11:25. Is that correct?
I guess it's listed there, and it's also the same thing you skipped back there at 5 hours and 55 minutes. I guess that's a move.
Do you want us to do it immediately after the P23 or wait until the 11:25?
All right, just stand by. I'll check on that for sure. Yeah, do that immediately after the P23, yeah.
Right.
And one other thing while you have your pencil in hand is a liftoff bus 15 P37 block data when you're ready.
Houston, go ahead with the P37 for liftoff bus 15.
Okay, Ed. GET of ignition is 01500. Delta VT 5700. Minus 165. GET for 400K 04504. Go ahead.
Okay. GET is 01500, 5700, minus 165, 04504.
Roger, Ed. Your readback's good. Go ahead, Ed. 14 Houston, go ahead. 14 Houston, go ahead.
Roger, good. We didn't quite understand when you wanted us to start this P23 that you passed the info on.
Right now, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Stu's going to get out of his suit here and we'll be ready in a few minutes.
Roger.
Well, Houston 14, how do you read?
Apollo 14 Houston, go ahead.
Okay, Gordon, I just want to check, make sure I was back on the comm here.
Roger, loud and clear.
Apollo 14, this is Houston, over.
Go ahead, Houston.
Roger, Stu. When you get ready to commence your B-23, we have a change to the sighting attitude based on your current estimated time of starting, over.
Okay, and hey, could you give me an estimate on this? Are you wanting us to press on into that right now, or do you want us to go ahead and get the suit stowed, so forth?
Well, it's really your option, Stu. Whenever you conveniently get ready to run a P-23, why don't you check with us and we'll make sure you've got a current attitude, over.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control at 7 hours 38 minutes. That completes the playback of the taped conversations between the spacecraft and Mission Control. We'll now continue to follow for any live conversations with the crew. The capsule communicator at this time is astronaut Bruce McCandless. McCandless relieved Capcom Gordon Fullerton. At the present time, Apollo 14 is traveling at a velocity of 9,776 feet per second. The spacecraft is 37,248 nautical miles from Earth.
Okay, Bruce, how you read?
Go ahead. Apollo 14, this is Houston. Go ahead.
Okay, Houston, I'm getting ready to start this P-23, and I guess that last P-52 will still be good for this, and I'll start into the optics cal attitude and then get your burp 49 attitude to start after that.
Okay, and I'll check and see if we want to update our attitude from the one I got here in front of me, and we'll pass it up to you when you're ready.
Okay. And, Bruce, I guess I want to verify we do not need another P-52. It's been, what, an hour since that last one?
That's verified.
Okay.
Apollo 14, this is Houston, over.
Go ahead.
14 is Houston. We'd like you to acquire us with the high gain antenna. Pitch -7.5 and yaw plus +9er, over.
Roger, -7.5 and +9.
Apollo 14, this is Houston. Change yaw angle to +120.
Okay, Houston, I'm locked up on a track.
Apollo 14, this is Houston. Ed, we'd like you to read out the pitch and yaw position meters on the high gain antenna for us, if you would, please.
Roger, the pitch is reading -90, and yaw is 150.
Roger, -90 and +150.
I'll make that about 180, about -80 and 150.
Roger, 14, -80 and +150.
Okay, Bruce, how about that attitude for the P-23?
Roger, Stu. The attitude will be roll 179er, pitch 280, yaw 310, over.
Raj, 179, 280, 310.
Roger, out. This is Apollo Control at 8 hours 12 minutes. At the present time, the crew aboard Apollo 14 is preparing to begin a series of star sightings. They will do this in computer program 23, taking sightings and marks on 3 stars to update the onboard guidance system's knowledge of where it is and where it's going. At this time, here in Houston at the Manned Spacecraft Center and also at North American in Downey, California, teams of engineers are in the process of putting together a set of procedures and evaluating the tasks involved in running through a set of checks on the probe and drogue assembly on board the spacecraft. Once this set of procedures is worked out and the flight director and team of flight controllers here in Mission Control have had a chance to evaluate them, a decision will be made as to whether or not to attempt removing the probe and drogue assembly and also bringing up the television to transmit television pictures of the evaluation back to Earth. Once that decision is made, it's estimated that it will take about 2 hours to get the lines up between Goldstone and Houston so that we can receive the television picture. We still have some 3 hours 50 minutes of acquisition time remaining at Goldstone before a handover is made to the honeysuckle station. The estimate is that it would take probably on the order of 6 hours time to get circuits up between honeysuckle and MSC to allow transmission of television from honeysuckle to here. And more than likely, any television received at honeysuckle would be recorded for later playback and would not be transmitted live to Houston. However, the plan would be to transmit television live from Goldstone some 2 hours after a decision to remove the probe and drogue was made. Our best estimate on when that decision might be made is that it would probably be no sooner than 30 to 40 minutes. We'll keep you advised on any changes in that. At 8 hours 15 minutes, this is Apollo Control. This is Apollo Control at 8 hours 30 minutes. Apollo 14 now traveling at 9,163 feet per second. The spacecraft is 41,842 nautical miles from Earth. The flight dynamics officer reported that there appears to be a very small amount of venting occurring on the S-IVB. The venting is not probably causing any significant effect to the trajectory of the vehicle. However, it does affect the tracking data on it and makes it difficult for the flight dynamics officer to get a good vector on the S-IVB and from that to compute a predicted impact point. However, it is possible to compute the impact point based on the known position at the time the last propulsive maneuver occurred, the LOX dump, and from that to compute an impact point. Based on the flight dynamics officer's computed impact point, the booster officer will compute a needed delta V, and at 9 hours ground elapsed time, command an auxiliary propulsion system maneuver with the S-IVB targeted to impact it near the Apollo 12 seismometer. There's been no communications with the spacecraft for the past 30 minutes or so. The crew is scheduled to begin a sleep period at about 16 hours. At 8 hours 32 minutes, this is Apollo Control standing by.
Apollo 14, this is Houston. For your information, the booster people are planning an APS burn on the S-IVB at 9 hours GET even, over.
Roger, thank you. Houston 14, have any idea where we should look to see it?
Stand by on that one, Ed, and if we can get some good angles and stuff for you, we'll send them up.
Okay, the way it's been moving around here, we've lost track of it.
Roger.
This is Apollo Control at 8 hours 59 minutes. We're standing by now for the beginning of the S-IVB auxiliary propulsion system maneuver, which will target the Saturn third stage to an impact point near the Apollo 12 seismometer. That will be a 4-minute and 12-second burn, targeted to put the third stage in at about 1.56 degrees south latitude and 33.25 west.
Up on the S-IVB apps burn, and we don't have a good attitude for you to look out right now.
Okay, we'll kind of look around and see what we can see.
Roger.
Give us a hack on it, Bruce.
Hey, Roger, it's going now. It's about a 4-minute burn.
Houston, we've been unable to spot the S-IVB.
14, this is Houston. You can try looking out the right-hand side window and with your line of sight depressed a little bit from the straight-out position. Back SPS engine bell-wise.
Right, the sun's coming in that window.
Okay, that's probably going to make it very difficult to spot.
Makes it a little hard on the eyes. Bruce, we've been fairly busy with housekeeping up here. We haven't had a chance to describe anything we've been seeing. We'll get around to that after a while.
Say again what you're going to get around to?
See, we'll get around to doing a little description for you after a while.
Roger.
Booster officer reports the burn is complete.
Burn has been completed, Ed.
Thank you, Bruce.
Bruce, we've been wondering if you found your headset all right when you got back to the smoker.
Yeah, I've got it on. I didn't notice anything wrong with it. You may be a little subtle for me, but go ahead.
You obviously found it. It is working.
Apollo 14, this is Houston. I have a flight plan update for you.
Understood.
Okay, you can go ahead with your flight plan update.
Roger 14, we have a P-52 that was previously scheduled in the flight plan at 9 hours GET. We'd like you to hold off on that P-52 until after PTC is established, and then run it while in the PTC mode. After your P-23s are complete here, we'd like you to perform the oxygen purge and wastewater dump. Also perform the Delta V test and null bias checks as called out in the flight plan at 9 hours and 20 minutes GET previously. And then you can deactivate the primary evaporator at your convenience. And we'll be having instructions for you on what we want to do with respect to the probe and drogue. And I guess that we'd like your commentary or your feelings on how you'd feel about pulling it out and reinstalling it this evening before you turn in. Over.
Okay, you want the P-52 originally scheduled for 9 to be done after PTC is commenced. You want O2 purge and water dump. And secured now. And we'll do the Delta V test and null bias check momentarily since 23 has been completed. We'll discuss the probe and call you back.
Roger. And
Houston 14.
Go ahead, 14.
Okay, Bruce, I just wanted to say a word about that P-52 that we had just for the P-23s. Went to that P-52 attitude and pick a pair, always picked a star that was occulted by part of the limb. So you probably saw me dial in another star. And the stars weren't probably separated too far as the criteria goes. So if anybody's looking at that, that's the reason.
Roger, we copy.
This is Apollo Control at 9 hours 27 minutes. Apollo 14 now 46,539 nautical miles from Earth, traveling at a speed of 8,544 feet per second. We're still awaiting the arrival of a list of questions and procedures from the engineering support room. These questions will be passed up to the crew, asked of the Apollo 14 crew, and used in part as a basis for a decision as to whether or not to ask the crew to remove the probe and drogue assembly from the docking tunnel of the command module.
Head 14.
Regarding the probe, I don't think we mind taking it out tonight, discussing it with you, letting you look at it, and then leaving it out for the night.
Okay, 14, we copy, and as I mentioned earlier, we haven't really gotten all the inputs yet on what we want to do, whether we'd like to do this tonight or whether we might want to wait until tomorrow, but I'll get back to you as soon as we have, and we'll incorporate your feelings into the decision down here and
send them back to you. And did you copy on my flight plan update? We'd like to get the primary evaporator deactivated whenever it's convenient with you all.
Okay, it has been deactivated.
Okay, thank you.
That last remark came from Al Shepard. Shepard stated that the crew would not mind removing the probe and drogue assembly tonight, but they would prefer not to have to reinstall it tonight before beginning their sleep period. And as you heard, Capcom Bruce McCandless advised the crew that a decision has not as yet been made as to whether or not the crew will be asked to remove the drogue and probe assembly. Discussions are going on at this moment around the flight director's console, and we're still awaiting the engineering data, which will also serve in part in making that decision. At 9 hours 30 minutes, this is Apollo Control continuing to stand by.
Houston, on the EMS now bias check, we had start at minus 100 and terminate with minus 99.4.
Okay, Al, we copy. You started with minus 100 on the null bias check, and you terminated with minus 99.4.
That's correct. Those two purges been completed and wastewater dump is in progress.
Roger out. 14, this is Houston. Would you prefer to take time out to have something to eat or press on with the drogue operations now?
I think we can do both simultaneously.
Roger.
And our thought on the drogue, Bruce, is to get it out, look at it, discuss it with you, and give you some time to think about it, and tie it down here with us while you're thinking about it.
Roger, we're tentatively looking at taking the probe out, doing that, tying it down, and we may want to take the drogue out, but we thought you could just lock the drogue back in place and then the hatch to go to sleep for the evening.
Sounds good.
Okay, and be right back at you in about a minute with the hot smoking word.
Hey, Bruce, are we going to start PTC before we start in on the drogue?
That's unresolved right now, Stu.
Okay.
Houston 14, this is a pretty fine snowstorm we have going out here.
All right, here we copy.
This is Apollo Control at 9 hours 39 minutes. The decision that's been made with respect to the drogue and probe is that the crew will be asked to remove the assembly. They will also be asked to unstow the television camera, get television coverage of it. However, the television lines will not be put up between Goldstone and Houston in order to avoid a 2-hour delay. The TV signal would be recorded at Goldstone for playback later, and the evaluation that would be done this evening would be a verbal evaluation from the crew, with the TV to be recorded for playback at some later time. At 9 hours 40 minutes, Apollo 14 is traveling at a speed of 8,438 feet per second, now 47,557 nautical miles from Earth. This is Apollo Control at 9 hours 42 minutes. There's been a slight modification to that plan as far as the TV is concerned. The crew will begin as soon as convenient to remove the probe and drogue assembly. However, the lines will be brought up from Goldstone. This will probably require an hour to an hour and a half, and any television that is received at the time the lines are up will be released live. And television until that time will be recorded. So there is a possibility that we will get some live television toward the end of the probe and drogue activities aboard the command module. And the network controller is taking steps now to get those lines up between Houston and Goldstone. The estimate is that it will take, at this point, an hour and a half, or perhaps a little longer.
14 Houston, we're showing about 15% on the wastewater on telemetry now.
All right, we've just shut it off. We're showing 22.
Roger that.
This is Apollo Control at 9 hours 53 minutes. Here in Mission Control, we're proceeding with preparations for the removal and evaluation of the probe and drogue assembly aboard the spacecraft. A probe and drogue have been brought into the control center and will be used in directing the crew and in familiarizing flight controllers with the various aspects of the probe and drogue assembly that will be discussed. Capsule communicator Bruce McCandless has the assembly sitting near the base of his console, and will use the assembly in directing the crew to perform the tasks that will be asked of them, and discussing various aspects of the assembly. Again, to repeat the plan as far as television coverage of this activity is concerned, the crew will remove actually they'll vent the tunnel between the LEM and the command module first, then remove the command module hatch, activating a handle on the probe assembly which will collapse the assembly and allow it to be removed from the tunnel, and finally removing the drogue if required. This whole operation requires on the order of 15 to 20 minutes, and will be followed by a detailed examination with questions prepared in the engineering support room here at the Manned Spacecraft Center and passed up to the crew for their response. We have about 2 hours and 8 minutes of acquisition time remaining at Goldstone. It's estimated that it will require about an hour, perhaps an hour and a half, to get the lines up between Goldstone and Houston so that we can receive live television. The crew will be instructed to unstow the television camera, and television pictures will be recorded until such time as the lines between Houston and Goldstone are up. At that time, we will receive live television transmission. Following the completion of the evaluation of the drogue and probe assembly, we will play back the recorded television. At 9 hours 56 minutes, Apollo 14 is 48,956 nautical miles from Earth, traveling at a speed of 8,369 feet per second.
Apollo 14, this is Houston, over.
Go ahead.
Okay, Ed, here's what we'd like to do on the probe removal, or actually the whole probe inspection shooting match. We'd like to remove the tunnel hatch, of course, and if you make a quick visual inspection there to see if there's anything that looks significantly amiss. If you see anything, we'd like to photograph it, and in this whole sequence, we would like to have you power up the television and send a picture down, which we'll receive at Goldstone and record, although we still have about an hour or an hour and a half before we could be configured to receive the television back here live. Then pressing on from there, if you want to make a couple of notes on a pad, we'd like you to perform the probe removal in accordance with the decal with the following exceptions.
Better hold up a minute, Bruce.
Okay. This is Apollo Control at 10 hours, 1 minute. Our network controller has just reported what is perhaps the fastest hour and a half work we've seen in some time. He reports that the lines are up and ready to receive live television from Goldstone. So hopefully, when the crew is ready to begin removing the probe and drogue assembly, we'll have live television of that activity.
Houston 14.
Go ahead, 14.
Roger, can you give me the changes to this probe removal procedure so that I can copy it on page S25?
All right, Roger. Actually, we'll be looking at page S2-6 for the changes. That is the section that applies to both TLD and LOD. Over.
Okay, I'm ready to copy.
Okay, the top of page 2-6, the first step, probe umbilicals disconnect and stow. We'd like you to verify proper connection of the umbilicals before you disconnect and stow them, and I guess you might take a look for bent pins, contacts, all that sort of stuff. Down at about the 6th line down where it says capture latch, release handle, lock, rotate counterclockwise to unlock, we'd like you to verify that it is locked prior to unlocking it. You got that one?
Okay, go ahead.
Down about 5 lines further, you have capture latch, release handle, pull, rotate to unlock 180 clockwise, and we'd like you to pay particular attention to whether there's an unusually high torque required to unlock the capture latch release handle in this step. And we'd also like you to verify the absence of or report any damage to the pyro cover or to the capture latch release handle. And the pyro cover that we're talking about is the it looks like an extruded metallic shell just forward of the capture latch release handles there, and it's the one that bears the decals on it that say cocked and unlocked. Over.
Okay, you want damage to the pyro cover and what else?
And any damage to the capture latch release handle. And then as you pull it out, we'd like to know if you notice any unusual forces required to remove the probe.
Okay, let me read it back.
Okay, go ahead.
At the top of page S26, the probe umbilicals. Before we disconnect and stow them, you want to verify that they gave early or properly connected.
Gave early.
And that step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, capture latch release handle lock before rotating counterclockwise to unlock. We want to verify again that that is locked.
Roger.
And that you would like for us to pay attention to the torque required to loosen any of these items. Oh, that's the capture latch release handle. And you want us to observe for any damage to the power cover or the capture latch release handle, and to observe any obvious damage that's apparent at the capture latches or the probe head.
Roger, Ed. And we currently have the lines from Goldstone back to the building up here, so I think that we'll probably be ready to support via TV almost in real time. And for onboard photography, we're recommending use of the electric Hasselblad set on f2.8, 1/125th of a second at 3.5 feet. Magazine O for Ocamulgee, which is stowed in Alpha 13, and you might verify the f-stop with the spot meter set at ASA 64 if you have the chance. Over.
Okay, Bruce, I got that. I believe the electric Hasselblad at 28 125th, 3.5, magazine O for Opelaka. It's stored A13, and we'll check it with the spot meter. How long will you have Goldstone coverage, Houston?
14, this is Houston. We'll have Goldstone coverage for about another hour and a half. If that's any problem, we can reconfigure to pick up honeysuckle. And the shutter speed is 1/125th. That's 1/125, over.
Roger, I understand. 1/25th. Itchy already down there.
This is Apollo Control at 10 hours 13 minutes. We're still standing by for the crew to begin the operation of removing the probe assembly from the docking tunnel of the command module. And we do expect that we'll have live television coverage of at least a portion of that activity. We have 1 hour 50 minutes of Goldstone acquisition time remaining before we expect to lose acquisition from Goldstone and pick up primary coverage from the honeysuckle site. At the present time, Apollo 14 is 50,322 nautical miles from Earth, traveling at a velocity of 8,234 feet per second. With Capcom Bruce McCandless at the console, our Apollo 14 backup command module pilot, Ron Evans, and Apollo 13 command module pilot, Jack Swigert.
Houston 14.
Go ahead, 14.
Bruce, it'll probably be 15 minutes or so before we finish getting some chow, and we'll start up into that tunnel for you.
All right, Roger, we're standing by down here. We've got the color converter going so we can watch you in glorious living color, and just give us a yo when you're ready to go.
Okay.
That was Ed Mitchell reporting it will be about 15 minutes before the crew is ready to begin the probe removal operation.
14, this is Houston. When you get around to the hatch removal in the tunnel, we'd like to get a LEM-CM delta P reading prior to your equalizing the pressure, over.
Rod, Bruce, we'll give you that.
Roger.
Stuart, how's your peanut butter?
Hey, Big Jack, not enjoying any peanut butter.
You did a good job.
Apollo 14, this is Houston, over.
14, go ahead.
Roger, if you're about wound up on eating, I've got a correction to the in-flight erasable load of TFM for you, and we'd like to suggest a change to the DAP to open you up to a 5-degree deadband and save a little fuel, over.
Okay, we'll call you back in a minute.
Roger.
Okay, Houston 14's ready to copy TFM.
Roger, Apollo 14. This is a correction to the in-flight erasable load procedure for TFM as found on page G9-4 of the GNC checklist. Under column B, line 04 now reads 33304, and should be changed to read 35242. Line 05 under column B now reads 07000 and should be changed to read 03262. Over.
Okay. Page now. 95, that is. How about give it to me again? 94, that is. Go ahead.
All right, Roger. That's page 9-4. Under the OID line number 04 in column B for Buffalo, you'll find the entry 33304. That should be changed to read 35242. Over.
Okay, 04 Bravo, 35242.
Right, and the next entry directly below it on OID line 05 now reads 07000, and that should be changed to read 03262. Over.
Okay, 05 Bravo should read 03262.
Roger, read back correct. And on your DAP, we're recommending an R1 load. Okay, I see you've got it already. Sorry about that.
This is Apollo Control at 10 hours 59 minutes. We're standing by for the Apollo 14 crew to begin removal and evaluation of the probe assembly. We do anticipate having live television coverage through Goldstone, and our network controller is making arrangements for satellite coverage from Honeysuckle so that we would have television through Honeysuckle also after we hand over to that site. At this time, Apollo 14 is 53,866 nautical miles from Earth. The spacecraft velocity is 7,900 feet per second, and we'll continue to stand by.
Apollo 14, this is Houston. Go ahead.
Roger, Houston 14. I've got the camera set up and we're starting to work on the tunnel now. Configured for television. Let's have it.
All right, Roger, we're configured, and let me see if we're ready to have you send it down. Roger, letter rip.
We're now getting a television picture.
Stu, this is Houston. For you equalize, would you give us the MCM Delta P?
Raj, we're working on that.
Roger.
Raj, Bruce, and it's 0.5.
I understand 0.5.
That's affirmative.
Roger, out.
Houston, we're starting to bring our pressure up into the tunnel.
Roger. We haven't yet been able to make out who is up in the tunnel, working in the hatch area, removing the hatch.
Okay, Delta P0.
That's Ed Mitchell giving us the reports on the pressure differential. The spacecraft now 54,477 nautical miles from Earth. The greenish-looking object floating on the end of the white tether is what is referred to as Tool E. It's a hex head screwdriver type tool.
Houston, we're starting to bring the hatch out now and put it on the center couch.
Roger, out.
You're not getting light down there, Houston, but it's going under the left-hand couch.
Roger, Ed. Even with the low level of light, we're getting a pretty good picture here, especially after it's color converted.
Can you see anything up in the tunnel, Houston?
We really aren't seeing much in the way of the docking mechanism there. There we go. That looks better.
Houston, at the start inspection, we find that the rope umbilicals are properly secured.
Houston, roger out. That was Al Shepard reporting that the probe umbilicals are properly connected. That was one of the things that we had asked him to verify before removing the probe assembly. Our best guess at this time is that Stu Russa is the crewman working in the hatch area.
activation of the handle allows the probe mechanism to collapse inside the tunnel and makes it possible for the crewman to remove the assembly.
Okay, Bruce, I don't know how well you can follow with the TV camera down there, but I didn't see anything obviously wrong with the umbilicals, and the capture latch release handle lock was in the lock position.
Roger, thank you, Stu. And it appears that the 83-pound probe assembly is collapsing, sliding down out of the tunnel now.
Okay, the capture latch release handle turned very easily, Bruce.
Roger out. You didn't notice any damage to the pyro cover or anything like that, did you?
No, I didn't, Bruce. I looked it over here with a flashlight, and gee, I can't see anything out of the ordinary. We'll drag it down and take a look at the outside of it, but I didn't see anything wrong with the pyro cover or any of the connections or anything like that.
Roger. And Stu, while you're at it, would you say that the force that it took to remove the probe up there from the tunnel area was high, low, or indifferent, or nominal?
Well, you know, it's the first time I've done it without gravity helping a little bit and pushing back, but I wouldn't say it was excessively hard. I sort of braced myself on the bottom of the tunnel and gave a pull, and she came loose.
Roger. We can see the head of Commander Alan Shepard just behind the probe. Okay, we'd like you to examine the probe head as you're now doing, with particular emphasis on any evidence of unusual shear pin shearing in the bushing hole there at the end, or foreign material in the capture latch release button area, or foreign material or damage anywhere in the areas of the capture latch hooks.
Okay, we'll give it a go.
At first, the first cursory look, we don't see anything obvious about it. If you have instructions is where you'd like to look, we'll try to bring the camera right in on it for you.
And Bruce, up here in the very tip of the probe, you know, where the tower hooks on, it looks clean. I don't see anything fishy about that right off the bat.
That's up at the bushing on the end you're describing to me, Stu?
Yeah.
Okay, 14, we'd like to get some close-up photos of the probe head around the capture latch release button of each capture latch hook, and if you find any scratching or damage up there, that area in particular also.
Okay, good. Yeah.
You've been looking at the Drogue. We see that there are 3 scratches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are rough to the touch, as if they've broken the surface of the Drogue.
Al, this is Houston. You're coming through very weakly. Can you maybe put the mics closer to your mouth? I think that might be a problem.
Okay, I was looking up away from the mic when I was talking, but up in the tunnel, I'm looking at the Drogue, and there are these radial scratches which we described before that feel rough to the touch. They probably scratched the surface of the Drogue, perhaps 6/4 of an inch.
Roger. Al, this is Houston. You mentioned the dimension associated with these scratches. You mentioned 1/4 of an inch. Was that width, or was it depth of penetration, or length, or what? Over.
I was trying to describe the depth of penetration. And it's very difficult because I don't have any kind of a gauge on it, but it has scratched the surface to a depth of perhaps, I don't know, 3 or 4 thousandths maybe. It's a very definite scratch. It feels rough to the touch.
Roger.
Now I'm confused, Capcom. Is that the scratches of 3 or 4 thousandths?
Okay, I understand you're saying they're about 3 or 4 thousandths of an inch deep and the order of a couple inches long.
That's right. They're varying in length. They all, as we said before, radial scratches leading away from the apex of the Drogue, and some are about 2 inches long, and one's about 1 inch long, one's about 3/4, and one's about 1/2 inch long. These are pretty the marks made by the capture latches as they read a docking attempt, and in fact has cut into the surface of the Drogue.
Roger, we copy. Okay, when you get through taking some photos up there, we'd like you to take the capture latch release handle, pull, rotate it counterclockwise to the cock position, and then manually depress all 3 capture latch triggers at the base of the capture latch hook simultaneously, and verify that the capture latch release button should move forward to the lock position flush with the probe bushing.
Okay, why don't we do that, and then when we get all through, we'll go through and get the pictures you want.
Roger.
And we're going to bring the Drogue out too, so you can take a look at it on the TV.
Roger, Stu. And after you do get it out, we'd like you to hold the TV steady on the area of the Drogue where the scratches are for a couple minutes, and do likewise again on the capture latch area on the probe.
Okay.
Houston, I'm moving the television in on the Drogue now. Al's going to put a light on it. It's pretty dark.
Roger.
We're now looking up into the docking tunnel toward the lunar module.
14, this is Houston. We're getting a picture, but the illumination level isn't very good, and I guess I for one, can't see any scratches right here.
It's pretty hard to see it, Houston. Just the light levels. We're going to try another little trick here. Let's see if we can get you some light.
Okay.
All right, Houston, we're going to move in on the, you're looking at the center of the Drogue now, the scratches. You can see Stuart's thumb there. He's going to point to them, and we'll see if we get enough light for you to see them.
Okay. Roger, we got that last one still, and we got the one you're pointing at now.
Bruce, I think this illumination will give it to you if you'll let me hold it for a minute here.
Okay. Roger, we can see about 5 or 6 of these radial scratches in the present scene. Right where you're looking there, about 3 of them. 1.
Yeah, that's affirmative, Bruce.
Okay, now I guess that at the 4 o'clock position you've got about 3 scratches, and then at 8 o'clock you've got 1. Do you have anything up at noon?
That's affirmative, Bruce. There's one long one at 12 o'clock noon.
Roger.
have any luck from the field, Bruce, it appears that the probe hit the Drogue almost dead center every time we tried to make contact. But it just rebounded right off of it.
Roger, we copy.
Okay, we're going to put the drone back in place if you're through with it now.
Negative. We'd like you to hold it out for a minute or so. We ultimately want to wind up fit checking the Drogue and the probe here. Okay, back on the probe, we'd like you to take the capture latch release handle, pull, rotate counterclockwise to the cock position, or 150-degree rotation.
Okay, I've done that.
Okay, now manually depress all 3 capture latch triggers at the base of the capture latch hooks simultaneously, and verify that the capture latch release button in the end of the probe moves forward to the lock position, that is flush with the probe bushing.
Okay, you want us to push all 3 of them simultaneously, is that right?
That's right.
All right, say it again and verify what?
Okay, the little button right at the tip of the probe, which is the capture latch release button from the LEM active side, where you got your finger, should pop out flush when you trigger all 3 of these latches simultaneously.
Is it flush? Okay, it went pulled back in and it came out and appears to be almost flush. It says that's counted as flush the way it is now. We're going to repeat it here.
Uh, 14 Houston, we're requesting medium beam width on the high gain antenna, and we're going to have to hand over from Goldstone here shortly.
We repeated that, and it comes out flush.
Roger. And looking at that button, do you notice anything unusual about it? Any burrs, any bending, or any way it could be hanging up on something? Say again, Ed, we got some static.
Stand by, I'm looking at it now.
Now let's take a look at it. The top of the button looks closed, of course you can't see down below it. But it seemed to knock and release fairly easily. It doesn't appear to be sticking at all.
Okay, I guess that's what we really wanted to know about it. 14 Houston, if you could, on the TV pictures, refrain from using the flashlight in close here. I think we've got enough light to see it with the ambient light.
Okay. Maybe you do. We don't seem to.
Okay, we got 30 seconds to hand over, so we're going to just go into a standby mode here for a minute or so until honeysuckle picks up.
Okay.
now that you've got the capture latches in a locked position out there on the end of the probe, we'd like you to push as hard as you conveniently can in 0G on each of the capture latches and verify that they do not depress.
All right, we've done that. We'll do it again, and they don't.
Okay.
Houston, they're not going to go in that way.
Okay, they shouldn't. Okay, 14 now would like you using tool B or some other suitable tool to depress the capture latch release button in the end of the probe there to cock the capture latches.
Roger, stand by.
Our network controller reports that we are now getting a television signal from the station at Honeysuckle Creek, Australia.
Yeah, Houston, we can cock the capture latches by pressing in the button at the end of it.
Oh, Roger, and now that you've got the drogue out, we'd like you to position the drogue and push it over the capture latches until the capture latch release button extends. And I guess we'd like you to do this several times and try applying different combinations of offset, side load, and torque on the thing, and check it up for any indications of dragging, binding, or anything that might be giving the problem that you experienced a few hours ago.
Okay, say again how you'd like us to cock the capture latches in the way we just did by pressing the button on the end of the probe, and then fitting it over into the drone several times and repeat this operation. Is that correct?
That's correct, and if you put the probe in a fixed place and then put the drogue over it, you could sight in through the hole in the end of the drogue and keep a good eye on things.
Roger, understand.
Okay, 14, and one of these times when you have the drogue on over the end of the probe, you might try just holding the drogue in position and wiggling the capture latch release button in and out several times. In this condition, it won't do anything, but it will allow you to assess the possibilities of binding or sticking of that particular part of the mechanism.
Okay, Houston. Houston, I'm going to get rid of the TV camera for a minute. It's not doing us any good. And it's taking all three of us to handle this equipment.
Roger.
And it appears we may have to get on the left side to do this. There's not quite enough room here to work.
Okay. Ed, this is Houston. Have you had any luck, I guess you could call it, in getting the probe and drogue to bind by applying lateral forces to the drogue?
Not yet. Stand by. We're getting ready to try it again now.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Bruce, I just went into place to work handily with that. We're going to put the drogue back in. Al's on the other side, and then we can put it up in there. Right.
Okay, by the other side, you mean over in the limb?
That's affirmative. Houston 14.
Go ahead, 14.
Okay, Bruce, we've cycled it about 4 or 5 times, and it goes in just so easily. The capture latches cock and hold it, and we've tried it by putting the capture latch release handle at 150 and putting it up and they move in. We've tried it by leaving it yellow to yellow and cocking them by pushing in on the end of the probe, on the probe release plunger, and it works both ways, just real fine.
So what you're trying to tell me is we still haven't come up with anything that would be the problem?
That's basically it.
Would you pass over to Al that while you've got the probe and drogue in the tunnel there and mated, he's on the other side, and keeping them engaged, would he push the capture latch release button in and out several times and see if he can make it stick up against the bushing by pushing sideways or anything of that sort on it while it's being pushed in and out?
Okay, we'll try that. Okay.
14, this is Houston. While you're up there in the tunnel, we'd like to get a roll angle readout on from the index mark as you come back through. And with respect to further procedures, I guess we got a write-in coming down here, which is a step that says further instructions will follow tomorrow.
Didn't quite understand all that, Bruce. Try us again.
Okay, we're asking for a docking tunnel roll index reading at your convenience, and
okay, we got that.
You've exhausted our imagination for right now on troubleshooting the probe. We'll work on it some more overnight and be back with you in the morning.
Roger, Houston, understand.
And would you confirm that Al was unsuccessful in getting the capture latch release button to bind up against that bushing in the end of the probe?
That's a negative, Bruce. We've cycled it several times, and he's pushed on it and tried to jimmy it, and the thing slides in just so easily and locks up. And when he pushes on the plunger, why, she releases very easily, and we can't seem to find any bind or get it to malfunction for us at all.
Okay, well, holding the probe in place there, we were wanting him to just take and cycle the capture latch release button in and out several times, doing his best to bind it up against anything he can find there in the way of the internal surface of the bushing. I guess you're telling me that he was unable to.
Okay, well, we hadn't really run that specific test. We'll try that.
we cannot force it to malfunction at all. So you'll have to think about it overnight.
Roger 14, we'll do that. We recommend that after you get Al back on the command module side, you reinstall the Drogue and the command module hatch and keep the probe over in the command module. We believe we've seen enough TV data for the time being so you can shut down the television at your convenience. And we would like to get photographic documentation of the capture latch release button, of each capture latch hook, and of any areas of scratches or visual damage on the probe head.
And Houston, the docking roll index is plus 0.9.
I understand plus 0.9er on docking roll.
That's firm, Nick.
Roger, very good. And Stu, this is Houston. You're cleared to start getting set up for PTC at your convenience. We'll be watching the rates, and on this first PTC initiation, we'll probably want to go very close to the full 20 minutes of rate damping, although we expect that on subsequent ones during the mission we'll have a better feel for it and just be able to cue you as to when to initiate the roll based on the rates that we're observing. Over.
Okay, understand, and we don't mind waiting 20 minutes.
Roger. Apollo 14, this is Houston. When you do close the hatch in the LEM, we'd like you to give us a mark so that we may confirm the floodlights are off. Over.
Stand by.
Roger, we weren't intending to rush you on it, just when it happens, give us a yell.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control at 12 hours 20 minutes. We're in the process now of handing over shifts. Flight Director Jerry Griffin and his team of flight controllers coming on now to replace Flight Director Milton Windler. During the shift that is just ending, the Windler team came on just after the Apollo 14 crew had successfully completed docking on the 6th attempt. That occurred at a ground elapsed time of 4 hours, 56 minutes, 46 seconds. Following that, the Saturn S-IVB was successfully configured for the auxiliary propulsion system evasive maneuver and the subsequent LOX dump and mid-course correction to put the Saturn third stage on a trajectory which will impact the moon in the vicinity of the Apollo 12 seismometer. The flight dynamics officer had a bit of difficulty in computing the exact impact coordinates due to a small undetermined, small venting from some undetermined origin on the S-IVB. The venting apparently having no significant effect on the trajectory, but affecting the data on which the trajectory is computed. And at this point, our trajectory analysis is not too precise. We expect that with additional tracking that the impact coordinates will be more precisely established. But at the present time, the tracking data shows that the S-IVB will impact at 8 degrees 34 minutes south, 23 degrees 17 minutes west, at a ground elapsed time of 82 hours 37 minutes. And following the mid-course correction on the S-IVB, the crew was advised that would be desirable to remove the probe and drogue assembly with the television activated and to troubleshoot the assembly to see if any obvious problem could be found. After going through a series of 12 step-by-step items, the only conclusion that the crew was able to reach was that there was no obvious defect with the probe or drogue assembly. The drogue was reinstalled in the tunnel area. The probe has been left out, and additional troubleshooting will be done tomorrow after the crew completes its sleep period, giving the engineering support people in mission control and at Downey, California, some additional time to determine what area to proceed in troubleshooting next. The booster systems engineer is just reporting status on the S-IVB, the Saturn third stage. He reports that all tank pressures appear to be down to 0, and the booster is in a stable configuration. No further activities planned with the Saturn third stage. At 12 hours 24 minutes into the mission, Apollo 14 is 59,996 nautical miles from Earth, traveling at a speed of 7,395 feet per second.
Apollo 14, Houston.
Go ahead.
I've got a comm configuration for you to set up in here for PTC.
Okay, Fredo, stand by. Okay, Fredo, go ahead.
Okay, you can set the high gain pitch and yaw indicators to pitch minus 52 and yaw 270 degrees. Then select Omni Bravo.
Roger, 52, 270, Omni Bravo.
Okay, and then track to manual and wide beam width.
You have it.
Okay, Ed.
Houston, Apollo 14.
Go ahead, 14.
All right, Fredo, we were busy with the probe at 11 hours, and we're inquiring about turning off the waste storage vent valve and shifting the heater configuration on the O2 tanks.
Okay, Ed, waste storage vent can go to close, and on the heater configuration, 1 and 2 to off, 3 to auto.
So be it.
And Apollo 14, Houston.
Go ahead.
Did y'all by chance vent the batteries back at 11 hours then?
Nag, Fred, I'm getting ready to do that now.
Okay, Ed, I was going to suggest you do that before we get to PTC, so we got all that closed up.
Houston 14.
Go ahead, 14.
Okay, Fred, Al's closed the limb hatch, and he verified the floodlights went out before the hatch closed.
Okay. Yes, I saw it here.
Hey, that may have been... Say again?
They saw it down here, too, on the power, I guess.
Okay. And I'd like to clarify one thing. Seemed like Bruce implied that we would keep the probe in here with us, and we'd just like to store it in the Drogue for the night. It's so easy just to open the hatch and get it back out again if we want to dissect it tomorrow or something.
Yeah, that sounds all right, Stu.
Okay.
And 14, Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to verify that you have the waste storage vent to close now.
Yeah. Okay, that's verified, Fred, and we're still venting the batteries.
Okay.
Houston 14.
Go ahead, 14.
Fredo, the battery vent seems to have stopped at a reading of about 2.5 volts. Dropped very quickly to that and has been staying there. Can you tell if the vent is complete?
Stand by 1.
Sorry about that, Fredo, 0.25.
Okay, did you correct that, Ed, and say 0.25?
That's right, 2.5 units, Fredo, 0.25 volts.
Okay. Okay, 14, that reading will be okay. Uh, 14, Houston, did you copy the 0.25 reading is good enough, Ed?
Thank you, Fredo, and the battery vent is terminated.
Okay. Uh, 14, Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, if you can give us accept there, we'll pump you up a state vector, and I have P37 block data for you.
Okay, stand by 1. There's the pulling exam.
Okay.
Okay, Fredo, go ahead with the P37.
Okay. Stand by 1. Okay, Ed, P37 block data 02500 4971 minus 165 06912 03500 7548 minus 165 06835.
Hold it, Fredo.
Okay.
Let your reading me P37 block data.
That's what it says.
Let's start over again. GETI.
Okay. GETI 02500 4971 minus 165 06912. That's GET at 400K.
Roger.
Okay.
02500.
Go ahead.
How many are you going to read me up?
Oh, 4 of them, Ed.
Okay, didn't understand. Press on.
Okay. The next one, 03500. 7548 minus 165 06835. And the third one is 04500 5725 minus 165 09258. And the last one, 06000 5242 minus 165 11702.
Okay, 02500 4971 minus 165 06912 03500 7548 minus 165 06835 04500 5725 minus 165 09258 0600 5242 minus 165 11702.
Okay, and remarks, the second through the fourth sets are at the 35-hour, 45-hour, and the 60-hour block data. Assumes a mid-course 2.
Understand 35, 45, and 60 hours assume mid-course 2.
That's permit, and we're still watching your rates here. We'll give you the word when we're ready for the PTC.
Thank you.
This is Apollo Control, 13 hours, 20 minutes, ground elapsed time in the flight of Apollo 14. The crew presently setting up the passive thermal control drift rate, or the so-called barbecue mode of...
You can go back to block on the computer.
Okay.
Okay, Fred, and we got the hatch back in, and when I put the probe up for stowage, I looked again at that pyro cover that Bruce had asked me about before, and I can't see anything wrong with the probe anywhere.
Okay.
Another comment by Stu Russa on the continuing mystery of why the docking probe malfunctioned in the earlier attempts right after translunar injection to dock with the lunar module. Attempts to duplicate this failure in flight as well as here on the ground have been fruitless so far. The training model of the probe and Drogue are sitting on the floor in the aisle next to the spacecraft communicator's console here in Mission Control. Meanwhile, the tests in flight have been postponed or suspended until after the rest and meal period for the crew of Apollo 14. Spacecraft is now 63,937 nautical miles out from Earth at a velocity of 7,100 feet per second. We'll continue to monitor air ground here in Mission Control as the crew prepares for the night's rest and getting the spacecraft set up on the slow rotation of passive thermal control, PTC, at 13 hours, 22 minutes ground elapsed time. This is Apollo Control.
Houston.
Go ahead.
It looks like you quit moving around in there, Ed. The rates are down. I guess you can crank up PTC.
Okay.
Be right with you, Chris.
No hurry. Uh, 14 Houston.
Go ahead.
Just a reminder, you might make sure you've brushed your teeth and all that kind of stuff before tucking her in there before you crank up that PTC.
Roger.
Houston 14.
Go ahead, 14.
Okay, Fred, I'm going to spin it up. I'm going to use PD row if that's agreeable with you.
Okay. That'll be fine.
Okay. And Houston 14.
Go ahead.
Hey, Fred, I guess we've already said everything we can to try to help y'all out on that probe. But sitting here trying to run back over, I want to make sure that we're not overlooking something that might give you a clue. And when we did our docking, as I was thrusting plus X and then Al hit the retract, he said the talkbacks came back barber pole for a time period, you know, like a couple of seconds before, and then went gray again when we got the dock. Now, I just tossing that in. I think we called that, but I just wanted to make sure we'd covered everything.
Okay, we had already gotten that, Stu, from your previous comments.
Okay, I just thought maybe they're in the rush of things, you know, we might not got it in. I can't think of anything else to add, I guess.
Okay, Stu, I guess we got nothing else on the Drogue business. Just wanted to verify, did you get the LiOH canister changed and your PTC startup looks good?
Okay, Fred, we got the LiO changed at, let's see, let's check the time, 13:07.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control. 13 hours, 50 minutes ground elapsed time. In that last exchange of conversation between Command Module pilot Stu Rusa and spacecraft communicator Fred Hayes here in Mission Control, Stu thought of one item that perhaps he did not mention during the earlier discussions of the docking probe problem. It turned out he had mentioned them, but that had to do with the indications of some devices in the cabin called talkbacks. They're little striped devices that show through a little window, and when they're still they have stripes, and when they're spinning they turn gray because of the visual effect of black and white stripes moving at high speed. However, he had mentioned these indicators earlier in the evening. He reported also that at 13 hours and 7 minutes ground elapsed time, they had changed the lithium hydroxide canister in the command module. These canisters serve to scrub the carbon dioxide from the cabin atmosphere. Earlier this morning, the flight director, Jerry Griffin, was down fiddling with the probe and drogue mechanism, sitting on the floor here in Mission Control, scratching his head over it. And at this time, or perhaps later in the day, at various locations around the country where the probe and drogue had been designed and manufactured, other people will be scratching their heads, trying to sort out why the drogue did not latch on the first several attempts at docking in Apollo 14. Flight plan calls for the crew to go to sleep at about 16 hours ground elapsed time, which is about 2 hours and 8 minutes from now. There's an outside chance that they may decide to move that up a bit. At the present time, they're getting set up in passive thermal control, PTC. Status reports coming out of the spacecraft analysis room are rather brief. All the systems perking along quite nominally. It shows at 11 hours and 7 minutes, the leak rate in the lunar module and command module tunnel joint was about 5/10 or 5/100 of a pound per hour of oxygen or atmosphere. Guidance and control all up to snuff. Communications are normal. Displays and controls all nominal. Down through all the rest of the spacecraft systems, there's a slight drop below what is nominal at this time in the flight for the command module or command and service module reaction control system propellants. And propellant remaining, in as much as quite a bit was used in the several docking attempts, but still well within the an acceptable budget. Electrical system, battery B still charging in the command module. All other batteries are topped off, about 107.47 amp hours remaining in batteries A, B, and C. Fuel cells and cryogenic storage tanks all operating normally at this time. No problems, according to the notation by the spacecraft analysis room, who generates these reports about every 2 hours. Apollo 14 now weighing, according to the Space Digital's display, 98,110 pounds. Altitude above the Earth, or out from the Earth, 66,183 nautical miles. Velocity, 6,943 feet per second. And at 13 hours 55 minutes ground elapsed time, this is Apollo Control with an open circuit, Apollo 14 air-to-ground communications.
Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Okay, you can terminate battery charge now.
Okay, doke.
Uh, 14 Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, for some reason we're showing your PTC has gone out of the box here, so in a bit here we're gonna need to reinitialize. But we'd like to continue with the roll here till we get in good shape on the Omnis again.
Roger, it's due. Now we'll finish his P52.
Roger. Houston.
Go ahead.
Okay, whenever you get a chance after the 52 there, I guess you can stop the PTC and reinitialize. We're in good Omni region now.
Okay.
And 14 Houston, we're not really sure what caused the PTC to diverge. It looked like a pretty good start, unless either vented something or maybe something continued to vent from a while back.
That's more likely we had a continuing vent.
Okay. Go ahead, and we got your now 93s.
Did you get them? The tracking time is 141250.
Okay. Houston. 14, we're having a little trouble with data dropout in your present position. We'd like Omni Charlie.
Again, Fred, are you busted up on that one?
Okay, Stu, we're having data dropouts. We'd like Omni Charlie.
Okay, Fred, try us again real slow. You're just coming in syllables.
Okay, we would like Omni Charlie. Omni Charlie.
Okay. Okay, there's Omni Charlie. How's that?
Okay, how do you read me now?
Okay, you're loud and clear.
Roger, we were having some data dropouts on high bit rate there, Stu, and before we get ready to crank up PTC, we'll have you go back to Bravo then.
Okay.
Okay, we're showing O2 flow pegged high down here. Just wondered if you're getting that on board too.
Yeah, we are, Fredo.
Okay.
We thought we'd stopped all the vetting, but we apparently are still vetting somewhere we're not aware of.
Okay. Uh, 14, Houston.
Go ahead, Fredo.
Just a question. Did I understand you to say that you head checked and you got all your vents closed up now?
That's affirmative, Fredo. We're looking right now to see if we can find where this is going. Stand by for it.
14, Houston, are you changing anything now? We're seeing the O2 flow dropping off a bit.
Did you see any marked change? We just,
Well, it was up over 0.9 there, Ed, and it's down around 0.7. It's gone back up now, though, 0.8 something now. Uh, 14, Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Okay, our original thoughts were that it might be a deucer. If you hadn't already done so, you might run through ECS MAL 1A and see how you come out of that one.
Well, Fredo, we can see the vetting right now. We think we've got an actual problem.
Okay. What side of the spacecraft, 14?
That's coming out the port side.
Okay, the port side. Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Okay, we saw a drop off. I guess you cycled the regs, Ed, so that would indicate the deucer's okay. You might check again the valve on top the urine receptacle there and make sure that guy is closed off.
Yeah, we're rechecking all the valves now.
Yeah, Fred, I did that, and in fact, I even closed the waste management dump, just to see if Myrtle was leaking, but it didn't do any good.
Okay. Uh, 14, Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Okay, you seeing any more venting overboard at this time?
That's affirmative, Fred. I'm just sitting here watching it. It comes in spurts. Just about 30 seconds ago, we got a nice flash, and there's some right now. Looks like it's coming, from over in the area of the normal dumps.
Right. 14, Houston.
Go ahead.
Yeah, oxygen flow looked like it had settled down there around 0.4, and then all at once it started, it jumped up again there just half a minute ago or so, and looks like it's back down again. Had y'all moved anything else in that period?
Yeah, Fred, we went back cleaning up after that malfunction, and We had the water glycol valves off and the emergency rigs and suit demand. We didn't see any effect when we went through it, and then we just went and opened them up again here.
Okay.
I'd settle down on our meter at 0.6 pounds an hour now, Fredo.
Okay. Houston?
Go ahead, Fredo.
Yeah, I guess we're happy with that O2 flow you got now. That looks pretty stable, and the vehicle rates look okay to crank up PTC again. We think we got a handle on what happened, except in what really caused the first O2 flow high. Unless there was something you readjusted.
I don't know that we have a good answer for you. Stu and I are just talking about, we think quite possibly the urine dump is leaking, and we've got it cycled now and shut clear off. Let's see if that helps any.
Okay. And 14 Houston, we're like Omni Bravo.
Okay. Houston, this is Al. We're going to pre-sleep checklist now. We thought we'd drop off a little bit early tonight.
Okay.
Houston, we're bringing direct O2 valve on to pump the cabin up to 5.7 now.
Okay. And 14 Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
We're configured down here to take the memory dump anytime. Stand by one. Check how the Omnis are.
Okay, Fred, we ought to have you now. How do you read? Houston 14, how do you read?
Okay, loud and clear, Stu. Stand by one.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready now, Stu, for the e-memory. They're all set.
Okay.
Houston, onboard readouts if you're ready. Copy.
Okay, Fred, here comes the Burp 74. 4. Now.
Okay. Go ahead, Ed.
Okay, bat C is 37. Pyrobat A 37.5. Pyrobat B 37.5. RCSA 88. B 90. C 87. D 91.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control. Crew of Apollo 14 at the present time is going through their pre-sleep checklist a little earlier than scheduled in the flight plan. Spacecraft being tracked now through the Madrid tracking station of the Deep Space Network. The crew earlier had called and said they wanted to go to sleep a little earlier. And prior to that, there were a flurry of questions back and forth about spurious high flow rate of oxygen in the command module, higher than normal, that is, not excessively high. It was caused by some valve being open and perhaps in the waste management system. Apparently it seems to have settled down. and the spacecraft appears to be in a good, solid, steady roll rate for passive thermal control. They passed up their onboard readouts of consumables, battery amp hours remaining, percentages of RCS propellants. Right now, Apollo 14 is shown on the Space Digital display as being 71,887 nautical miles out from Earth. Velocity now 6,570 feet per second. We'll leave the air-ground circuit up for a while longer until it appears that the crew has settled down for their sleep period. At 15 hours, 24 minutes ground elapsed time, this is Apollo Control.
Houston, you're 814.
Go ahead, 14. Go ahead, 14, Houston there. Oh, 14 Houston, how do you rate? Houston, how do you rate?
Houston, you're 814.
14 Houston, read you loud and clear.
Hello, Houston, how do you read 14?
14 Houston, how do you read me?
Oh, you're loud and clear. There was a lot of static and no reception on, I guess, that other antenna.
Okay, we had to drop Madrid and try to reacquire there to get you back. Could you verify that you are on Omni Bravo there, Stu?
That's affirmative, Omni Bravo.
Okay.
And if you don't have anything else for us, we're about to secure here.
Stand by one, sir. 14 Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Just one more thing. I'd like to confirm the H2 fans off.
Okay, well, they were on. They're off now, Fred.
Roger, Stu. I guess you can take the rest of the day off.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control at 15 hours 47 minutes ground elapsed time. And apparently the crew of Apollo 14 has retired for the night. That last conversation between Stu Rusa and spacecraft communicator Fred Hayes here in Mission Control. The flight surgeon on the Gold team, Dr. Willard Hawkins, said he couldn't really tell yet from his biomedical data at his console who was asleep yet. He said it appears that spacecraft commander Shepard is now nearing sleep status, but he couldn't really tell. We'll take down the air-to-ground circuit, and if there are any further conversations after the sleep period, which has now begun, we'll play those back on a delayed basis from tapes. Present position of the spacecraft, 73,420 nautical miles out, velocity 6,476 feet per second, and at 15 hours 48 minutes ground elapsed time, this is Apollo Control. Minutes ground elapsed time. Even though the crew had been tucked in for the night, they came back with a short exchange of somewhat less than a minute with spacecraft communicator Fred Hayes here in Mission Control. We'll play the tape back now.
Tank 2 switches should be number 1 and 2 off, number 3 on auto.
Okay, 3 is auto, and 1 and 2 O2 tanks are off.
Okay, we'll leave you alone now.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control. That wraps up the short piece of tape that was accumulated after the crew supposedly had sacked out for the night. Apollo 14 now 74,589 nautical miles out. Velocity 6,406 feet per second. And at 16 hours 7 minutes ground elapsed time, this is Apollo Control. This is Apollo Control, 16 hours 57 minutes ground elapsed time. Crew has been asleep now, or at least haven't heard from them in about the last hour. A scheduled 10-hour sleep period, which may run a little bit longer since they did go to bed earlier. Apollo 14 now 77,595 nautical miles out from Earth, traveling at a velocity of 6,231 feet per second. In the latest status report from the spacecraft analysis room in the back of the building here, for a ground elapsed time of 16 hours, it appears as the earlier report came out, all systems normal, no change in status, with one brief mention of the fluctuation in oxygen flow rates, which occurred shortly before the crew went to sleep, where some of the waste management valves apparently had to be recycled to return the oxygen flow rate to its normal rate of something around 0.3 of a pound per hour. Battery B in the command module was taken off charge. at about 13 and a half hours ground elapsed time. All batteries are topped off now to their rated value. Fuel cells in the service module. Fuel cell 1 is outputting 24 amps, as is number 2, and number 3 is putting out 28 amps. Cryogenic storage system, hydrogen and oxygen in the service module, all showing nominal values of quantity remaining and fluid temperatures. In the percentage of quantity, oxygen tank number 1 is 92.6% remaining. Oxygen tank number 2, 93%. Oxygen tank number 3, 57%. Number 3 is the tank that was added after the Apollo 13 incident, and of course the plan is to use from it first and then go to the other 2 tanks. Hydrogen tank number 1 has 90.98% quantity remaining. Hydrogen tank number 2, 89.11%. At 17 hours ground elapsed time in the mission of Apollo 14, this is Apollo Control. This is Apollo Control, 17 hours, 57 minutes, ground elapsed time. It's been slightly more than 2 hours since we last heard from the crew of Apollo 14 in the midst of a sleep period, well deserved. Apollo 14, presently 81,112 nautical miles out from Earth. Velocity 6,038 feet per second. Rather quiet here in mission control as the goal team nears the end of its first shift in this mission. At 17 hours 57 minutes ground elapsed time, this is Apollo Control. This is Apollo Control, 18 hours 8 minutes ground elapsed time. An announcement of local interest here at Manned Spacecraft Center for newsmen covering Apollo 14. A briefing on the Space Shuttle program, which had been scheduled for 9:30 Monday morning, that's today, has been slipped until 1:30 p.m. in the small briefing room in the news center. The major participant in this briefing will be Charles W. Matthews, Deputy Associate Administrator, Office of Manned Spaceflight, NASA Headquarters. To repeat, this briefing has been rescheduled to 1:30 p.m. today in the small briefing room, not at 9:30 as previously announced. Apollo 14, meanwhile, now 81,826 nautical miles out from Earth, going in an even 6,000 feet per second. At 18 hours 9 minutes ground elapsed time, this is Apollo Control. This is Apollo Control, 18 hours 37 minutes ground elapsed time. Apollo 14 crew still asleep at this time. The clock on the front screen of Mission Control here showing an awake time 7 hours 22 minutes from now. Some velocity and distance figures. Distance out from Earth, 83,399 nautical miles. Velocity 5,917 feet per second. To recap the past 7 or 7.5 hours of the Gold Team tenure here in Mission Control. Shortly after the shift of flight controllers under Flight Director Jerry Griffin came in, the crew was given a go to set up passive thermal control, the barbecue mode of stabilizing the thermal response of the spacecraft by rotating about its x-axis. This took a little while to set up, and they had to make 2 attempts of it. Rusa asked if it wouldn't be all right to stow the probe, which had been under examination in the spacecraft, back in the tunnel attached to the Drogue, and everyone agreed that was the ideal place to stow it rather than have it rattling around in the cabin. All attempts on board the spacecraft and here in mission control with a training model of the probe and Drogue to duplicate the malfunction of the latches failing to engage, all of these attempts failed because it worked every time. The crew requested that they go to sleep earlier than called for in the flight plan, and they started their sleep period at about 15 hours, 30 minutes ground elapsed time with a brief exchange conversation between Stu Rusa and spacecraft communicator Fred Hayes about 15 minutes after. Prior to going to sleep, there was a brief flurry of high flow rates in the oxygen system in the spacecraft environmental control system. It was discovered that it was caused perhaps by valves in the waste management system bleeding the pressure overboard and causing a higher flow rate in the oxygen system. But this was corrected without too much difficulty. Passive thermal control was set up. The crew made their consumables report of propellants remaining, amp hours in the batteries, all the usual standard stuff called for in the flight plan prior to sleep. And that they did begin their sleep period at ground elapsed time of 15 hours, 30 minutes. And at 18 hours, 40 minutes ground elapsed time, this is Apollo control.
This is Apollo Control Houston at 19 hours, 31 minutes, now into the flight of Apollo 14. Our displays in mission control presently show Apollo 14 at a distance of 86,406 nautical miles away from Earth, and now traveling at a speed of 5,765 feet per second. In the Mission Control Center, we're in the process of a shift changeover. The Pete Frank team of Orange flight controllers replacing Jerry Griffin's Gold team. As has been previously reported, the Apollo 14 crew is in a rest period. We now show a wake-up time 6 hours and 28 minutes away. In the over the newsroom television monitors at 11:35 Central Time, there will be a replay of the television transmission that occurred at 11 hours 6 minutes ground elapsed time. This transmission ran 1 hour and 5 minutes. We repeat, in the over the news center television monitors, there will be a reshowing of the television transmission that occurred at 11:06 ground elapsed time and ran for an hour and a half minutes, or an hour and 5 minutes. This will be at 11:35 Central Time. We're at 19 hours 33 minutes into the flight, and this is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control Houston at 20 hours 32 minutes, now into the flight of Apollo 14. Our displays now show Apollo 14 at a distance of 89,728 nautical miles away from Earth, and traveling at a speed of 5,603.7 feet per second. The surgeon reports that the 3 crew members, Shepard, Russo, Mitchell, are sleeping quite soundly. We show a remaining sleep time of 5 hours 27 minutes, and at this time we'll take down the release line to replay the television transmission of early this morning, and this will be available on the monitors in the news center. We're at 20 hours 33 minutes, and this is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control Houston at 21 hours 41 minutes now into the flight of Apollo 14. We presently show the 14 spacecraft at a distance of 93,355 nautical miles and traveling at a speed of 5,435 feet per second. As the rest period for the crew continues, the flight control team here in Mission Control will be considering possible flight plan changes or updating the flight plan, both for the balance of our shift and the next shift to come on. The crew wake-up time now shows that it's 4 hours 18 minutes away. We're at 21 hours 42 minutes into the flight, and this is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control Houston at 22 hours 12 minutes now into the flight. We now show Apollo 14 at a distance of 94,979 nautical miles away from Earth and traveling at a speed of 5,362 feet per second. During this quiet period, while the crew is resting, a replay of last night's docking is being rerun on the screen here in Mission Control. A space shuttle news conference featuring Mr. Charles Matthews is scheduled to be held in the News Center briefing room at 1:30 p.m., about 15 minutes from this time. We're at 22 hours 13 minutes into the flight, and this is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control Houston at 23 hours 23 minutes now into the flight of Apollo 14. Our displays presently show Apollo 14 at a distance of 98,566 nautical miles out from Earth and traveling at a velocity of 5,205 feet per second. The crew of Apollo 14 is continuing with their rest period. However, our flight surgeon advises that the lunar module pilot, Ed Mitchell, plugged in his biomed at 22 hours 50 minutes. This would assume about 7 hours of sleep time. Meanwhile, we have preliminary times, distances, and velocities of certain milestone events en route to the moon. These are preliminary times, distances, and velocities. The halfway in distance in terms of time, that would be at a ground elapsed time of 27 hours, 4 minutes, 42 seconds. The altitude would be 109,172 nautical miles. The velocity relative to Earth, 4,779 feet per second. Velocity relative to the Moon, 3,694 feet per second. Halfway in terms of time, this from liftoff to lunar orbit insertion. The time would be 40 hours, 56 minutes. The altitude relative to the Earth, 142,119 nautical miles. The altitude relative to the Moon, 81,723 nautical miles. Velocity relative to the Earth, 3,601 feet per second. The velocity relative to the Moon, 3,261.7 feet per second. Sphere crossing time when we cross from the Earth to the lunar sphere of influence, 66 hours, 3 minutes, 7 seconds. The velocity match when the velocity of the Moon equals the velocity of the Earth at a ground elapsed time of 47 hours, 43 minutes. The velocity reading at that time, 3,214 feet per second. With regard to the S-IVB, the present forecast time of impact, 82 hours, 37 minutes, 10 seconds. The velocity at impact, 8,347 feet per second. Present predicted coordinates, 9 degrees, 2409 minutes south, 25 degrees, 600 west. We also would like to advise all newsmen that there will be a briefing, a news conference on Apollo 14 mission status in the big auditorium at 3 o'clock. Participants include Rocco Petrone, Apollo Program Director, Chet Lee, Apollo 14 Mission Director, Jim McDivitt, Apollo Spacecraft Program Manager in Houston, and Sig Schulberg, Director of Flight Operations at the Manned Spacecraft Center. We repeat the Apollo 14 Mission Status News Conference at 3 o'clock in the big auditorium of Building 1. We're at 23 hours, 28 minutes into the flight, and this is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control Houston at 23 hours, 42 minutes now into the flight of Apollo 14. Apollo 14 presently 99,521 nautical miles away from Earth and traveling at a speed of 5,165 feet per second. We would like to repeat our earlier announcement. An Apollo 14 mission status news conference will be held in the big auditorium of Building 1 starting at 3 p.m. Participants will include Mr. Rocco Petrone, Apollo Program Director, Colonel James McDivitt, Apollo Spacecraft Program Manager at the Manned Spacecraft Center, Mr. Chet Lee, Mission Director for Apollo 14, and Mr. Sig Schulberg, the Manned Spacecraft Center's Director of Flight Operations. We're at 23 hours, 43 minutes, and this is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control Houston at 24 hours, 58 minutes, now into the flight of Apollo 14. At present, we show Apollo 14 at 103,220 nautical miles out from Earth. Present velocity now reads 5,012 feet per second. One of our clocks continuing to count down shows the rest period ending at 1 hour, 1 minute from this time. This is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control Houston at 25 hours, 41 minutes now into the flight. Apollo 14 now 105,282 nautical miles away from Earth and traveling at a speed of 4,929 feet per second. The present plan in mission control is to not contact the crew of Apollo 14 until 27 hours ground elapsed time, 1 hour later than the flight plan calls for. Even if the crew should awaken and be about and in contact with mission control via voice communications, the flight plan will effectively and in certain areas move back by 1 hour. All of the activity is presently listed in the GETs between 26 and 27 hours would move back 1 hour. The launch vehicle systems debriefing would move back to start at 28 hours ground elapsed time. The P-23 cislunar navigation star sightings scheduled in the flight plan to start at 28 hours 30 minutes have been deleted. The purpose of this to conserve on the reaction control system propellants. The Delta V test and null bias check and the P-52 platform alignments have been delayed until 29 hours 10 minutes ground elapsed time. The passive thermal control exit has been delayed until 29 minutes or 29 hours 45 minutes ground elapsed time. So the crew will in effect have an extra hour of rest. We're now at 25 hours 43 minutes into the flight, and this is Apollo Control Houston.